Namo Narayanaya. We are starting today chapter 8 of Canto 4. This is called Dhruva Maharaja Leaves Home for the Forest. The great sage Maitreya said, "The four great Kumara sages headed by Sanaka, as well as Narada, Ribu, Hamsa, Aruni, and Yati, all sons of Brahma, did not live at home, but became Urdhva Reta, or Naihishka Brahmacharis, unadulterated celibates." Another son of Lord Brahma was Irreligion, whose wife's name was Falsity. From their combination were born the two demons named Damba, or bluffing, and Maya, or cheating. These two demons were taken by a demon god named Nritti, who had no children. From Damba and Maya were born Greed and Nikriti, or cunning. From their combination came children named Krodha, or anger, and Himsa, or envy. And from their combination were born Kali and his sister Darukti, or harsh speech. By the combination of Kali and harsh speech were born children named Mrityu, or death, and Biti, or fear. From the combination of Mrityu and Biti came children named Yatana, or excessive pain, and Niraya, or hell. My dear Vidura, I have summarily explained the causes of devastation. One who hears this description 3 times attains piety and washes the sinful contamination from his soul. I shall now describe to you the descendants of Swayambhuva Manu, who was born of a part of a planetary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Manu had 2 sons by his wife, Satarupa, and the names of the sons were Uttanapada and Priyavrata. Because both of them were descendants of a planetary expansion of Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they were very competent to rule the universe to maintain and protect the citizens. Uttanapada was king and had 2 queens, named Suniti and Surutsi. Surutsi was much more dear to the king. Sunuti, who had a son named Dhruva, was not his favorite. Once upon a time, King Uttanapada was patting the son of Surutsi, Uttama, placing him on his lap. Dhruva Maharaja was also trying to get on the king's lap, but the king did not very much welcome him. While the child, Dhruva Maharaja, was trying to get on the lap of his father, Surutsi, his stepmother, became very envious of the child, and with great pride she began to speak so as to be heard by the king himself. Queen Surutsi told Dhruva, "My dear child, you do not deserve to sit on the throne or on the lap of the king. Surely you are also the son of a king, but because you did not take your birth from my womb, you are not qualified to sit on your father's lap. My dear child, you are unaware that you were born not of my womb, but of another woman. Therefore, you should know that your attempt is doomed to failure. You are trying to fulfill a desire which is impossible to fulfill. If you at all desire to rise to the throne of king, then you have to undergo severe austerities. First of all, you must satisfy the Lord, Narayana, and then, when you are favored by him because of such worship, you shall have to take your next birth from my womb." My dear Vidura, as a snake, when struck by a stick, breathes very heavily, Dhruva Maharaja, having been struck by the strong words of his stepmother, began to breathe very heavily because of great anger. When he saw that his father was silent and did not protest, he immediately left the palace and went to his mother. When Dhruva reached his mother, his lips were trembling in anger and he was crying very grievously. Queen Sunuti immediately lifted her son onto her lap, while the palace residents who had heard all the harsh words of Surutsi related everything in detail. Thus Sunuti became greatly aggrieved. This incident was unbearable to Sunuti's patience. She began to burn as if in a forest fire, and in her grief she became just like a burnt leaf, and so lamented. As she remembered the words of her co-wife, her bright lotus-like face filled with tears, and thus she spoke. She was also breathing very heavily, and she did not know the factual remedy for the painful situation. Not finding any remedy, she spoke to her son. "My dear son, don't wish for anything inauspicious for others. Anyone who inflicts pain upon others suffers himself from that pain. My dear boy, Whatever has been spoken by Sarutsi is so because the king, your father, does not consider me his wife or even his maidservant. He feels ashamed to accept me. Therefore, it is a fact that you have taken birth from the womb of an unfortunate woman, and by being fed from her breast, you have grown up. My dear boy, whatever has been spoken by Sarutsi, your stepmother, although very harsh to hear, is factual. Therefore, if you desire at all to sit on the same throne as your stepbrother Uttama, then give up your envious attitude and immediately try to execute the instructions of your stepmother. Without further delay, you must engage yourself in worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord. The Lord is so great that by simply worshipping his lotus feet, your great-grandfather, Lord Brahma, acquired the necessary qualifications to create this universe. Although he is unborn, and he is the chief of all living creatures, he is situated in that exalted post because of the mercy of the Lord, whom even great yogis worship by controlling the mind and regulating the life air. Your grandfather, Svayambhuva Manu, executed great sacrifices with distribution of charity, thereby with unflinching faith and devotion, he worshipped and satisfied the Lord. By acting in that way, he achieved the greatest success in material happiness and afterwards achieved liberation, which is impossible to obtain by worshipping the demigods. My dear boy, you also should take shelter of the Lord, who is very kind to his devotees. Persons seeking liberation from the cycle of birth and death always take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service. Becoming purified by executing your allotted occupation, just situate the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your heart, and without deviating for a moment, engage always in his service. My dear Dhruva, as far as I am concerned, I do not find anyone who can mitigate your distress but the Lord, whose eyes are like lotus petals. Many demigods, such as Lord Brahma, seek the pleasure of the goddess of fortune, but the goddess of fortune herself, with a lotus flower in her hand, is always ready to render service to the Supreme Lord. The instruction of Dhruva Maharaja's mother, Sunuti, was actually meant for fulfilling his desired objective. Therefore, after deliberate consideration, and with intelligence and fixed determination, he left his father's house. The great sage Narada overheard this news, and understanding all the activities of Dhruva, he was struck with wonder. He approached Dhruva, and touching the boy's head with his all-virtued hand, he spoke as follows. How wonderful are the powerful Kshatriyas! They cannot tolerate even a slight infringement upon their prestige. Just imagine! This boy is only a small child, yet harsh words from his stepmother proved unbearable to him. My dear boy, you are only a little boy whose attachment is to sports and other frivolity. Why are you so afflicted by the words insulting your honor? My dear Dhruva, if you feel that your sense of honor has been insulted, you still have no cause for dissatisfaction. This kind of dissatisfaction is another feature of the illusory energy. Every living entity is controlled by his previous actions, and therefore there are different varieties of life for enjoying or suffering. The process of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very wonderful. One who is intelligent should accept that process and be satisfied with whatever comes, favorable or unfavorable, by his supreme will. Now, you have decided to undertake the mystic process of meditation under the instruction of your mother, just to achieve the mercy of the Lord, but in my opinion, such austerities are not possible for an ordinary man. It is very difficult to satisfy the Lord. After trying this process for many births and remaining unattached to material contamination, placing themselves continually in trance and executing many types of austerities, many mystic yogis were unable to find the end of the path of God realization. For this reason, my boy, you should not endeavor for this. It will not be successful. It is better that you go home. When you are grown up, By the mercy of the Lord, you will get a chance for these mystic performances. At that time, you may execute this function. One should try to keep himself satisfied in any condition of life, whether distress or happiness, which is offered by the Supreme Will. A person who endures in this way is able to cross over the darkness of essence very easily. Every man should act like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. When he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate toward him. And when he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of the material world. In response, Dhruva Maharaja said, "My dear Lord Narada, for a person whose heart is disturbed by the mental conditions of happiness and distress, whatever you have so kindly explained for attainment of peace of mind is certainly a very good instruction. But, as far as I am concerned, I am covered by ignorance, and this kind of philosophy does not touch my heart. My dear Lord, I am very impudent for not accepting your instructions, but this is not my fault. It is due to having been born in a Kshatriya family. My stepmother has pierced my heart with her harsh words. Therefore, your valuable instruction does not stand in my heart. I want to occupy a position more exalted than yet achieved within the three worlds by anyone, even by my father and grandfather. If you will oblige, kindly advise me of an honest path to follow by which I can achieve the goal of my life. My Lord, you are a worthy son of Lord Brahman, and you travel, playing on your musical instrument, the veena, for the welfare of the entire universe. You are like the sun, which rotates in the universe for the benefit of all living entities." The great personality, Narada Muni, upon hearing the words of Dhruva Maharaja, became very compassionate towards him. In order to show him causeless mercy, he gave him the following expert advice. "The instruction given by your mother Sunuti to follow the path of devotional service to the Lord is just as suitable for you. You should, therefore, completely absorb yourself in the devotional service of the Lord. Any person who desires the fruit of the four principles, religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and at the end, liberation, should engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord, for worship of his lotus feet yields the fulfillment of these. My dear boy, I therefore wish all good fortune for you. You should go to the bank of the Yamuna, where there is a virtuous forest named Madhuvana, and there be purified. Just by going there, one draws nearer to the Lord, who always lives there. My dear boy, in the waters of the Yamuna River, which is known as Kalindi, you should take 3 baths daily because the water is very auspicious, sacred, and clear. After bathing, you should perform the necessary regulated principles for Ashtanga Yoga, and then sit down in your asana in a calm and quiet position. After sitting on your seat, practice the 3 kinds of breathing exercises and thus gradually control the life air, the mind, and the senses. Completely free yourself from all material combination, and with great patience begin to meditate on the Supreme Personality of the Lord. The Lord's face is perpetually very beautiful and pleasing in attitude. To the devotees who see him, he appears never to be displeased, and he is always prepared to award benedictions to them. His eyes, his nicely decorated eyebrows, his raised nose, and his broad forehead are all very beautiful. He is more beautiful than all the demigods. The Lord's form is always youthful. Every limb and every part of his body is properly formed, free from defect. His eyes and lips are pinkish like the rising sun. He is always prepared to give shelter to the surrendered soul, and anyone so fortunate as to look upon him feels all satisfaction. The Lord is always worthy to be master of the surrendered soul, for he is the ocean of mercy. The Lord is further described as having the mark of Srivatsa, or the sitting place of the goddess of fortune, and his bodily hue is deep bluish. The Lord is a person. He wears a garland of flowers, and he is eternally manifest with 4 hands, which hold a conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus flower, beginning from the lower left hand. His entire body is decorated. He wears a valuable jeweled helmet necklaces and bracelets. His neck is adorned with Gada Kastuba jewel, and he is dressed in yellow silk garments. The Lord is decorated with small golden bells around his waist, and his lotus feet are decorated with golden ankle bells. All his bodily features are very attractive and pleasing to the eyes. He is always peaceful, calm, and quiet, and very pleasing to the eyes and the mind. Real yogis meditate upon the transcendental form of the Lord as he stands in the hole of the lotus of their hearts, and the jewel-like nails of his lotus feet glittering. The Lord is always smiling, and the devotee should constantly see the Lord in this form, as he looks very merciful toward the devotee. In this way, the meditator should look toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the bestower of all benedictions. One who meditates in this way, concentrating his mind upon the always auspicious form of the Lord, is very soon freed from all material contamination, and he does not come down from meditation upon the Lord. O Son of the King, now I shall speak unto you the mantra which is to be chanted with this process of meditation. One who carefully chants this mantra for 7 nights can see the perfect human beings flying in the sky. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is the 12-syllable mantra for worshipping Lord Krishna. One should always install the physical forms of the Lord, and with the chanting of the mantra, one should offer flowers and fruits and other varieties of foodstuffs exactly according to the rules and regulations prescribed by the authorities. But this should be done in consideration of place, time, and attendant conveniences and inconveniences. One should worship the Lord by offering pure water, pure flower garlands, fruits, flowers, and vegetables which are available in the forest, or by collecting newly grown grasses, small buds of flowers, or even the skins of trees, and if possible, by offering tulasi leaves, which are very dear to the Lord. It is possible to worship a form of the Lord made of physical elements such as earth, water, pulp, wood, and metal. In the forest, one can make a form in no more than the earth and water, and worship him according to the above principles. A devotee who has full control over his self should be very sober and peaceful, and must be satisfied simply with eating whatever fruits and vegetables are available in the forest. My dear Dhruva, besides worshipping the deity and chanting the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 3 times a day, you should meditate upon the transcendental activities of the Lord in his different incarnations, as exhibited by his supreme will and personal potencies. One should follow in the footsteps of previous devotees regarding how to worship the Lord with the prescribed paraphernalia, or one should offer worship within the heart by reciting the mantra to Lord Vishnu, who is non-different from the mantra. Anyone who thus engages in devotional service of the Lord seriously and sincerely, with his mind, words, and body, and who is fixed in the activities of the prescribed devotional methods, is blessed by the Lord according to his desire. If a devotee desires material religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation from the material world, he is awarded these results. If one is very serious about liberation, he must stick to the process of transcendental loving service, engaging 24 hours a day in the highest stage of ecstasy, and he must certainly be aloof from all activities of sense gratification. I'm going to pause here. We just have a little bit more of this chapter, but the video's going long, and I don't really like them to go much more than 20 minutes. This is a really interesting chapter, but I'm just going to hold off my comments. I'll welcome you to respond to this chapter down below with your thoughts, but I'm just going to hold off to the next video. But this is fun, and there's a lot here, and hopefully the voice that I'm using doesn't distract you too much from the glory of this chapter. So yeah, we'll pick this up, verse 62, in the next video. Thank you for watching. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.